Hello and welcome to Mama T Energy. I'm Tiara, aka Mama T, and I invite you on a journey to loving your life through stories, channeled messages, and energy work. I love life, and it is my mission to guide you and millions like us to discovering our passion for life. So let's open our hearts and dive in. Today, we are featuring Diamond Drip, a best-selling, award-winning author, coach, and speaker who's all about helping women ditch self-doubt and embrace their true selves. With a background in visual communications and brand strategy, Diamond discovered the game-changing world of human design and gene keys. Now she's passionate about showing others how to trust their gut and tap into their full potential. Diamond's own journey from stressed out entrepreneur to confident leader has even been featured on KQED Radio in New York Weekly, Medium, and as a guest on several podcasts. Her favorite saying, the limit does not exist, but fear and self-doubt will make you think it does. Welcome, Diamond. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, Mama T. Hey, listeners. Excited to be here.
Fantastic. So I want to first highlight, can you talk about what was the catalyst for your transformation from the stressed out entrepreneur to being self-led?
Yeah. So that catalyst actually, that moment happened inside of a business coaching program. And that program I joined because it was the first time I ever heard sales being talked about in a spiritual sense. And I was like, this is awesome because one of my first jobs was working for a gym. And we all know how salesy gyms can be. And I was like, I don't want to do that. So when I switched into a service-based model, I joined this program. And it was because of the certainty. It was like you follow this framework, you do these steps, six-figure launches, and I'm sitting there, I'm doing the steps, I'm bringing all of my energy, and I see other people having it work, but I'm like, okay, what gives? Why is it not working for me? And it was a very real, um, slightly expensive lesson that one size fits all does not work for everyone. And in that stuff, in that gunk, because it was a year-long program, I'd obviously made the commitment. So in that time, it was like, okay, what's my superpower? How do I figure out like maybe they've just tapped into their superpower and I only think I know what mine is. So maybe I need to go back to the drawing board and like suss out some stuff. And it was through that discovery process that I found human design. And it literally felt like this so many videos, not just one video, because it did start with one video, but so many videos just basically talking about whatever the specific term I looked up was actually describing me. And I'm like, what is this? Why have I never known about this? And that was really the catalyst for everything that came after.
I love it. So can you describe your human design for our listeners?
Yes. So, for our people who like to nerd out, I'm a 5/1 emotional generator. And what that means is that as a generator, when I'm doing work that I love, I generate so much energy that it literally bubbles up in me, out of me, into what I'm doing, into the people that I'm around. It's a very open and enveloping aura. People are just kind of drawn to the energy. And with that, um, I have to be very discerning because a lot of times people want generators around because they're like, you bring me energy, you bring me excitement. And that's where the emotional piece comes in. When you have emotional authority, you at a minimum should sleep on your decisions. And so a lot of times, especially when we don't know, generators are so many times seen as like the great quitters of the world because we, especially like as me as an emotional, I'll agree to something when I'm super excited and lit up about it. And then the next day I'm like, why did I say yes? And it was because I was going with the excitement. And so just emotional authority ensures that whatever decision you make, you are feeling that yes, whether you're in a good mood and you're super excited, or you're in a low and it's more of like a, yeah, this makes sense for me. This feels in alignment. But the yes being the thing that stays consistent is what you're looking for. And then the last piece that I said was 5/1, which is your profile. It's how your they call it the character role in the movie of life, is what it's referred to as. And so the five is kind of like your outward expression. It's what other people kind of see and they can sense about you. And so the five line is like the solutions person. We're often seen as like the savior, the, save the day kind of energy, which we have to be careful because people will project onto us that we can save their lives. And if it's not something that we have developed solutions around, if they're not timely, then we will be very quickly burned at the stake. It's like, whoa.
Mm.
And the one line actually helps with those solutions. So the one line is the investigator, the researcher, and human design was exactly an example of my one line kicking in. I went to this calculator, I got these terms, I didn't know what they meant, immediately researching down the rabbit hole. And so these rabbit holes are what light us up and they provide us with information that we need for our people. So that's how those kind of go hand in hand.
Love that. So, in your work with helping women out, do you tell them their human design and help that align?
Yes. So the business coaching program that I was in, it made me confuse my zone of genius and competence. No, my zone of competence and skill with my zone of genius. And so because I had already grown a product-based business and everyone was asking me about business advice, I was like, well, I should just be a business coach then. So it works. And so um I learned that the zone of genius actually begins with you, your gifts, your solutions, your experience, your all of that. And so now I used to, when I business coaching was my niche, it was like, yeah, I can help anyone. We're going to set up some systems, like any business. And now, like to your point, I start there. Like, I'm like, you want to talk about systems, you want to talk about social media, we're not talking about that for at least 2 months because we have to get you to recognize that your ego is trying to keep you small. It's trying to throw imagined threats at you, cause that fear, make like hold you back. You have outside noise that you've taken in from your friends, your family, social media telling you how to be successful. So we got to clear all of that gunk out so that we can know it's you, the infinite, cosmic, creative consciousness power that is you that I'm talking to, so that we can create these strategies.
That is so powerful. I love it. I love it so much. So, in this work, and so shifting from being like a business coach, can you talk about how do we find our zone of genius?
Yes. So I'll speak to a couple of things in design. So in business, your zone of genius is going to have a lot to do with your incarnation cross. And so in human design, when you first pull your chart, I'll reference my site because that's what I know. But when you go, you pull your chart, you've got the energy centers, you got this big shape with all these different numbers and decimals and things. On the side where the numbers are, there are shapes along the way. And so the first four that you look at is going to be your unconscious sun and earth, and then your conscious sun and earth. And these four gates make up your incarnation cross. This is your purpose. This is your what am I here to do? Like when people ask that question, what am I here to do in this lifetime? Like this is where you get that information. So your conscious sun, it tells you actually what you're here to do. So for me, that gate in my chart is beginnings. So I'm here to be this catalyst, to wake people up, to invite them into transformation, to challenge this what they've always known. And then you have your earth gate, and that's kind of like the balancing energy. And it's also what you're here to learn. A lot of times, for me, this is a pressure that I have to learn how to navigate because in my earth, it's the gate of ambition. And so it's this particular gate is in a pressure energy center. So there's a pressure to do. So what I'm here to learn is to manage that pressure to do so that what I'm creating is meaningful, that it's actually going to help me and help other people in what they're trying to do. Then you go to your unconscious side. And so the sun there, that tells you what keeps you healthy. So these are things that are going to help you to understand when to rest and when not to, when to execute, and etc. And then that last one, the unconscious earth, that's what deeply fulfills you. That's the question of like your purpose. It's actually called in Gene Keys, it's called your purpose sphere. And so that one is big for me because it's transforming the shadow of failure into the gift of preservation. So it's like, okay, we all we all think that we're, well, I won't speak for all of us, but a lot of us think that we are failing because we're just like, why is life happening to me? And so it's like really changing that perspective
Mm.
around failure into a growth opportunity because we all came to Earth School to grow and evolve.
Exactly, to experience this human
Exactly.
life, right? We're all souls just in this like fleshy meat suit,
Yep.
playing the game of being a human.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. So we've talked about business, but can you talk a little bit about how we can apply human design and gene keys to life as a whole? Because I like to think that business is life. Like it's all, everything is all connected.
Yes, I'm the same. And a lot of entrepreneurs will agree. We are like, there's no off really. Like we know there's an off, but there's no off really. Because we're thinking about it, we're dreaming about it, we're visualizing success. Like it's a whole thing. But personally, I'll actually go back to emotional authority. So when I was 14, I was diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder. And so that caused me to go through a large portion of my life actually making myself wrong for my emotions, for beating myself up when I was in down waves and really searching out those high waves because it felt like those were the good ones. Like if I didn't have these large ups and downs, then I would be normal, right? Disorder.
Mhm.
And so when I came into human design, I was like, emotional authority. What? Like, and it was that was actually so much work for me in the beginning because, well, because of my shadow and my conscious sun. So the shadow of the 53 is the shadow of immaturity, which is when you listen to the contemplation, he's talking about how we are all in this place of external fixation. Am I doing this okay? Did I get a good grade? Like, do you like this? And when we're in that place, it's very hard for us to expand, which is the gift of that gene key. And so it's our job to go from a place of immaturity to that, from external fixation to a place of internal groundedness. And so that was a lot of work for me in the beginning with emotional authority because I had spent so much of my life, like a lot of times with emotional authority, they tell you to track your emotions, like to track the wave so that you can know, like, when do you make your best decisions? And for so long, like I was trying to figure out, like, how do I track? How do you track yours? Like any person that I would meet, I would, and again, this is why I'm like, this was the shadow. Any person that I would meet that had emotional authority, I'm like, how does it work for you? So I can like try and figure out. And then I had to just rest into like, no, this is an invitation to get curious with yourself. All human design is, I've come to find out, is just an invitation because we learned one way of being that may or may not have been correct for us. And this is an invitation to, if this is how you were designed, why don't you try it on? And why don't you see if it brings you less frustration, less resistance? Why don't we see how that works? And now my especially with the evidence that I'm bringing my brain, because it's all an experiment, my emotions are actually where I start first. Like I was just invited to do a retreat in Tanzania. Tanzania wasn't necessarily on my bucket list, but I do want to go to Africa. So it was like, oh, like let me look into it. And I went to the discovery call. I went to like we were getting emails, and like the whole time, I really wanted to want to go, but there was just this feeling of like, like, and so with a very kind of heavy heart, but not really, because I know that either that weekend, whatever the week was, another opportunity is going to come that I'm supposed to be in. Or someone actually told me this the other day. They were like, maybe that's a time for you to rest. Maybe you will have just been going and going and going because it's in August.
Mhm.
That you need that week to rest. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to trust myself. I'm going to trust my emotions. And luckily, the person was a projector and she is into human design. So I was like, I hope you can appreciate that I have to honor my authority. And it's going to be a no. But I'm so excited to see all of your pictures and your videos and all of your shares from this amazing trip.
I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. And the permission of really connecting in with yourself. That I want to go back to that conversation because it's so important. I witness a lot of people, and it's great to get information, of course, like getting that research and hearing other people's experiences and learning from that. But also hey, you also have personal power too. Why can't, like, can you just take a moment and look within yourself and find within yourself? Just because this works for this person doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you. So, can you talk about how you cultivated that power?
It's an active cultivation. So, so a lot of times I am in my awareness recently, but I think the main thing that was helpful was recognizing what was my ego and recognizing what was actually coming from my higher self. So we all hear all the time, we're a mind, we're a body, we're a spirit, but I have to constantly remind myself of that because the I that our brain thinks that it is actually the mind. It's not the infinite consciousness that we are. And so when things happen, especially like recognizing what's pressure, because a lot of the times, if it's something coming from the ego, that smaller version of yourself that's always comparing, that's always in scarcity, or in human design, we call conditioning the not self. So things
Mhm.
that we've been told about ourselves. And so if it's coming from that place, usually there's like a should or a have to or a need to, like you gotta do it. Like there's this urgency behind it, but when it's actually coming from that higher self, from that place of alignment, from your intuition, it's like a peaceful, it's like, ooh, like there's a natural excite, like it's not pressure, it's excitement. It's like, oh, I really want to see how this is gonna work out. I want to tinker here and do these things. Like it's a want to, it's a desire to versus having feeling that pressure of like having to. So that's
Mm.
been one of the most helpful things because if it's coming from the pressure, I know that it's not really me. I know that it's just conditioning that I have to, do a little bit more work around.
I love it. Can you speak on, so if we're as like entrepreneurs, or even if it's not necessarily an entrepreneur, but you're in a career that you love, whatever it is, you're following your desire, you're following your passion, you're lit up, but let's say you're finding yourself not receiving the financial that you want. Can you speak on that and the mindset and the reframe for that?
1000%, because this was something I had to work on. So, and this is where trusting yourself is important, but also trusting in divine timing is important and releasing your expectation of what you think it should show up as.
Mm.
Going to the example of the entrepreneur, because I'm an entrepreneur, I thought that financial abundance had to come in the form of clients. And so consequently, we push ourselves, we're forcing things, we're throwing stuff at the wall because we're like, clients is the thing. Clients is, I'm a business owner, I get, and that's a way that you get money as a business owner, but you're still a person. And so it's been an invitation for me. Like so many random things have shown me that if I just trust and I show up with my gifts and my heart in a good place, the want to help, not the client, but the want to help someone, things will work themselves out. My grandfather passed away in 2019.
Mm.
In November, I got a call from AARP, New York Life, calling me about a policy that hadn't been paid out, that had actually occurred interest because it hadn't been paid out for so long. And that was a situation where it was like, of course, that was a lot of work because it showed me how unreceptive I was to abundance because our minds are conditioned to think like that's too good to be true. And then we
Mm.
start doubting it and we start creating what we don't want. And so it was during that time of like getting the call and then not having the money and being like, I just gave my social security number to somebody over the phone. I hope
We don't
that
do that.
right. hope that like I had done the research before, so I was confident in giving it, but it was like one of those things where it was like, no, I trust that this is exactly what it's supposed to be. I trust that the money is actually coming to me. I trust that if I'm doing the work that I'm supposed to, like why would it be not for me? And obviously it came. Another example I will give shortly is like my car was towed from my apartment complex. I had the thing displayed, handicap tag, like every like I called them and I'm like, why'd you tow my car? And they're like, because your registration was expired. I'm like, no, it's not. I renewed. This happened in December. I was like, I renewed in September. I just hadn't put the sticker on my tag. And so apparently I Googled when this happens, they're supposed to give you notice, like at least 24-hour notice before they just take your car. They did
Mhm.
not. I have Legal Shield. So something just didn't feel right. I was like, I'm submitting this ticket to Legal Shield. They did what they do because they're Legal Shield. And they ended up getting me a refund back, which arrived on Christmas Day. So that was like, oh, yay, I got my money back and it's Christmas. Woo. Fast forward to January 6th, the day my daughter was supposed to go back to school. They closed school for 4 days and then they opened it 2 hours late on that Friday. That Friday, my car decided it didn't want to start.
Mhm.
And the exact amount that I had to pay my mechanic on Monday when I got it fixed, because I was on a Friday, was 225. The exact amount that I was refunded from the incorrect tow. So it was kind of like sitting there as a savings of like something I wouldn't have put aside already for this thing that I actually needed. And so when we release what we think it should look like, so many wonderful possibilities can come in. We just have to trust that we are doing good and that the universe, divine timing, is on our side because it is.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And thank you for saying that because I have literally had my registration just sitting on my desk for like a month.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm not driving my car right now. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah, go put your sticker on at least.
Beautiful. So that's a reminder to listeners, sometimes we do have to do that adult thing from time to time.
Yes. Right?
I love it. And so, so true that money can show up for us anywhere. If we're in this like vibration of abundance, it shows up. So for example, I went out to dinner with some friends the other day and I was like, okay, well, I can't use that card. Like my usual card, I wasn't able to do, and something else was going on. And I was like, what am I gonna use? Where's the money? And I'm like thinking I'm like doing all of this math in my head, like where are we gonna go? What's gonna happen? And we're sitting there, and I'm just like, you know what, whatever, I'll get what I want to eat and it'll all work out. And at the end of the meal, one of the friends was like, don't worry about it. I'm gonna pay for it. And I was just like, well, there you go.
Right?
It's all worked out. It's all figured out. No need to stress. Like once you let it go, you can let it go and things will just naturally show up for you. And I want to kind of go back to in your story where you talked about, okay, so you spent money, it came back to you and then spent it again. So I can see how someone could see that and quickly down spiral. Like, okay, well, like I had to spend this money and then it came like so what, it came back to me. I still had to spend this money. So I'm still out, 200 whatever dollars. So can you speak to the reframe there?
Yeah. Because interestingly enough, my car got towed like a week or two after the check came from the insurance company. And I was like, I was exactly in that area of like, how do I get this abundance check? And I'm already spending it for stuff that's wrong. Like what? And so the reframe there was, let me see. I had to, again, it was the trust. I realized that so much of my life I had been trying to control things. And that was one of the things in my conditioning process, and I'm still learning it, but to let go of the control. And when we make our desires known, there's this pause that happens in the universe where we have to be ready and the universe has to be ready to grant said desire. And so there's this gap of space, and this I learned this and this helped during this time. There was this gap of space where everything that we were worrying about, all of the manifestations that we were thinking about that we didn't want, the universe now has to course correct because you were manifesting, and it has to say, oh, wait, no, they don't want this. But there were other things that were already in motion. So you have to just trust that if you continue being in that higher vibration, I love that you use that. If you continue to stay in that and not drop into those lower frequencies, you just have to keep going and trust. It's hard. But one of the things that also was helpful during that time was I would say to myself, this is a reminder of what I desire. Because every time like something goes wrong, we can either say it's the end of the world and we can make it the end of the world and that can be a bad day for us, or we can say, what is this trying to teach me? How can I grow from this? And when you approach it that way, there's this energy, this alchemy that changes about the situation.
Oh,
So
yeah.
those things.
I love that. This is a reminder of what I desire. So powerful. And it's something that a mentor of mine often talks about where they're saying like, okay, so let's say you put out you know, a message to the universe, God, source, mother nature, the divine. I want $1 million or whatever, or let's work on smaller numbers. Like I want $1,000 to show up for me, right? I need this to pay my rent. I need this for whatever. And then all of a sudden, $1,000 bill shows up for you that you did not expect. And you're like, I asked for $1,000 and now you're taking $1,000. You could get into that space, but the opposite, receiving the opposite of what you asked for is just a reminder that the other side exists as well. So if you're feeling rather than feeling that feeling of lack, leaning into okay, this is a reminder of the abundance. This is a reminder that if one side, the duality in the world, if one side exists, the other side exists. Right now, I'm calibrated to the lack mentality. So maybe I should like remind myself to shift myself on the on the scale and lean into the abundance. Like, okay, great. I'm going to pay this bill and I'm excited to see what's going to happen coming forward and manifesting for me.
Exactly. That's law. I think that's what is that? The law of polarity that is.
Yes, yes, there we go. Exactly. All righty. I normally ask this before I hit the record button, but we're here. It doesn't matter. So would you be open to receiving a tarot reading?
I would.
All right, fantastic. Is there a message that you're looking for specifically, or do you want a general message?
General message.
General message. Let's see what the divine has to say. I think this really is in alignment with what we've just been talking about. The first
Okay.
cup card that comes up is the Four of Cups. And so we were literally just speaking about looking at like the polarity, right? And so the Four of Cups is literally the card of polarity where it's like you could focus on the lack, which is a very common thing that happens in our human mind. Whereas like soul spirit is trying to be like, girl, you abundant. Like, listener, you're abundant. Everybody, like, there is abundance for everybody. And I even catch myself sometimes as I'm saying these things, because sometimes it's like, okay, you just like, you sound very naive when you're like, everybody's abundant when you know that there is somebody out there that doesn't even have fresh water to drink. How dare you say, right? And like, and so that duality can show up. But honestly, yes, this happens and it's a human experience. And depending on your energy, your frequency, your perspective on life, you can still have abundance. You can still, you could be experiencing not having fresh water and look at the fact that you still have a home, right? There is still abundance there. Like, in that same thought, I'm thinking about my family in the Richmond, Virginia area. They had to go through a like boil water situation because they weren't having fresh water. So like they still had their homes, they still had access to ways to get water. So there's still that happening. Yes, it sucks. And can we find the abundance? Can we still lean into gratitude in some way, shape, or form? We also have this Six of Swords, and the Six of Swords is an invitation for receiving, an invitation for receiving help, right? So going back to your story about the insurance money and really opening your heart to receivership. A lot of conditioning comes where it's like, well, if I receive something, I have to do something. I have to meet some sort of expectation in order to receive the money from the client. I have to meet an expectation in order to receive money from a job. I have to meet an expectation, even if I'm receiving money from like a family member. If it's like, your parents are like, yeah, I'll pay for your college, but you got to do da 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 da, right? And so this is saying let go of that conditioning and lean into just receiving for the sake of receiving. Your existence is worthy of receivership there. So letting go, getting out of the mind. We also have the Nine of Swords, which is like, again, getting out of the mind, getting out of the mind, getting into the body, getting into a place of intention, of breath and movement. And that is where you start to see those shifts and changes in your abundance, in your frequency, in your flow of all that you desire to show up for you and in the work. So going back to kind of the start of your story, right? Of like being stressed out and trying to control, and then coming to a place where you're like, oh, wait, this is by design. I'm going to let it go. And everything just kind of flows. And it's a life, this is the human experience, right? It's a lifelong lesson. I feel like when we're done with lessons, that's when kind of life tends to end. So as we are learning and growing, yes, we experience more abundance. Yes, we experience other like great, extraordinary things that make us happy. And we still experience those moments of turmoil and grief. And it doesn't mean that we're wrong or we went down the wrong path. It just means that we have more to learn, more life to live.
Exactly. And that's so beautifully said. I love that. And it's funny because when you asked specific or general, I had a specific thing come to mind, but I was like, if she's supposed to ask this before, then maybe I would have given those details before. I'm just gonna hold on to my specificity.
Yes.
And it exactly spoke to what I needed to hear. So I received that. Thank
I
you.
love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. In this moment, I want to ask if anyone is interested in getting in connection with you, where's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, my website is the best place, diamonddripconsulting.com. I do a monthly workshop every month because I really think that not enough people know about their design. So in that workshop, we dive deep into the basics, and then
Mm,
there's an invitation if you want to learn more.
I love that. So you guys definitely tap into diamonddripconsulting.com. Is there anything else that you would like to leave with our listeners today?
Just a reminder of my quote. I'm so happy that it's a quote now, but the limit does not exist. But fear and self-doubt will make you believe that it does. Don't listen to those things, please.
Yes, the limit. I like as I was reading it, I could just hear Mean Girls in the back of my head. The limit does not exist.
Right.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Amazing. Thank you so, so much for being here. And friends, you already know you can go to www.mamateenergy.com if you want to tap into anything that I've got available, including the Activate Your Inner Shift activation series. That's free for you. Just put in your email address and name. There's the Miracle Mastermind. And I also am offering an invitation to anyone who wants to chat with me about one-on-one mentorship because we can take that to the next level. And with that, I'm going to say ta-ta for now, and I'll see you where I see you next.